Oftentimes, the mindset a character adopts throughout a series greatly impacts people's lives. As we've seen with characters like Musashi Miyamoto or Ichigo, the idea of tackling issues and adversities that many of us can relate to on personal levels gives characters a sort of human-like trait. But despite these iconic characters being well known, there's nothing like good old Guts in the wonderland of Berserk 1997. No, but on a real note, I think that no character has really embodied the various struggles at such a deep level like Guts has, who goes through living hell and always somehow lives to tell the tale. In retrospect, Guts is not the character he seemed to be. On the outside, we've got a massive ripped dude with a 16-pack and everything, who seems like any other merciless, cold-hearted war machine we're sometimes used to seeing. However, with a little deeper dive into the world of Berserk, it's evident that Guts is in reality the embodiment of the saying, "more to than meets the eye." With all the deep layers in his mind we're slowly introduced to through a series of events, we're presented with someone who goes through fear, joy, sadness, and anger, and struggles with how to fit them together in his mind. The beginning of Guts' struggle to find purpose starts as a kid, where we see that life has had it out for him since day one. After being adopted by mercenaries and eventually getting chased out by them due to killing his corrupted father figure he looked up to, messed up dude by the way, Guts begins to question his belonging and place in the universe. He's seen as looking up at the stars, feeling insignificant and lacking purpose, and being completely alone. He's devoid of any attachments and emotions now, while being starstruck by the fact all he'd ever known was gone now and in the matter of minutes. With nothing but him and his sword now, he's stuck with the doomed fate of being a survivor in his own independence, looming over the fact that he didn't mean to kill Gambino. This sets up deep trauma for him as we're set to see later on in the anime, and eventually he's seen to be faced head on with a pack of wolves, while his will to live grows smaller and smaller. Nonetheless, at this turning point, we see the first aspect of his character development, where we're introduced to a theme of existentialism in Guts. His sword ultimately somehow keeps him alive, and for the first time he carves out his own meaning for himself. That being to keep on surviving so long as he is wielding his sword. He's seen to push through despite all the adversity and rely on his sense of survival to give him inherent purpose for the time being. This idea of him and his sword becomes really key to the sense of purpose throughout the anime, which we'll touch upon in a bit. But following this event, we see Guts as a lone mercenary adhering to his purpose of survival, taking care of meaty, chunky warriors here and there. In this setting, a crucial part of the story unfolds, where Guts will again question his purpose and role in the universe. Basically, he enlists in a new mercenary group called Band of the Hawk, through a bet he lost with Griffith, their new leader. Having potentially a sense of belonging now, he's seen to contemplate this new environment he finds himself in, and questions whether he's able to accept himself as part of something greater than just him. He thinks about whether he can place his trust in like-minded comrades as he did before, only to get betrayed. He'd essentially have to swallow his path of sheer survival to start being able to share burdens and have people to communicate his thoughts to. This is where we start seeing the accepting side of him to be open to learning his place in the universe and growing and adapting with each step along the way. But he would later start to question and examine even this purpose. In one of the episodes after a war, Guts opens up that he has no dreams of his own and that all he really knows is to fight, bringing back the idea of a man and his sword. He ponders on the purpose a dream can give to him and whether or not he'll ever be able to attain it. However, while eavesdropping on a conversation Griffith has with a princess he's trying to rizz up, Guts has realized that it's not his destiny to belong to another man's purpose, and instead to seek his own independence. This spirals into a chain of events that lead to Griffith leaving the band and having an identity crisis, forgetting about his underlying dream to rule the kingdom. Fast forward a bit and we see that Guts' accepting nature allows him to stay with the family on his search to learn about his place in the universe. He stays with the blacksmith and his granddaughter, and there's just one scene that really stood out to me in the span of time he's there. While asking Goro if he likes being a blacksmith, a trade he's known ever since he was able to walk, Goro states that he didn't choose this, but it's simply who he is. He ponders on how he spent his youth yearning to forge a greater sword, and by the time he knew it, he was old. Yet there's one thing that Goro has found purpose in when striking the sword, and that is the sparks lighting up each time the metal hits the iron. The sparks give a sense of life and meaning to him. Guts ponders on this philosophy and how the sparks served him as well, giving him meaning throughout each hardship and battle he's fought. Throughout those sparks is how he understands life. Guts ponders on whether his sword is his dream though, and comes to the conclusion that it isn't, and rather it is an aid to achieving it, helping him with the sparks it creates along the way. Although still not having a set dream in mind, Guts returns to the band of Hawks and finds that Griffith has straight up messed his life up and is on the verge of losing his sanity. He ends up saving a lifeless version of his former self, leading the band of Hawks in battle and absolutely smoking everyone around. Following this battle, there's a crucial scene where his comrades plead to join Guts in his lone travels, with them stating that as long as you're here, we'll be okay. Guts is taken aback by this gesture and ponders whether this is what he's been searching for all along. Was the idea of creating bonds and fighting for the purpose to protect and love his dream all along? He expresses that all he's ever wanted is before him now, and acknowledges that he should have appreciated what he had before it was lost. But man, does he really lose everything, cause this does not last for long, and the story literally takes a whole 360 here, like I'm talking really bad, and Guts is left to question everything he's ever known and learned throughout the years as a member of the band of the Hawks. The story follows an evil, corrupted Griffith who traded everything for power. Guts is left to watch as his life turns to living hell and everything he values deteriorates before his very eyes. From love, acceptance, passion, friendship, all he's ever had is stripped away from him, giving us a parallel to the time he was chased out by the same people that adopted him. With nothing now and seemingly again a lone traveler starting from scratch, we come back to a black swordsman with his lone and unforgiving aura. A dream is nothing of concern to a man so fixated on revenge, and that is where the anime leaves off. Guts on a quest to find Griffith and bring justice to the horrible deeds he committed. Although this is where the anime concludes, I highly recommend everyone to read the manga. No, like seriously, like you guys better read it because it basically shows Guts' aftermath dealing with this moment and his struggles to learn how to accept and feel the emotions he felt before. It describes his new path he forges in life, revolving full circle around the aspect of an underlying goal and questions how deep his revenge really is. It opens up to the development of his character and gives the reader a hope that one day Guts can look past all the trauma and hopefully find his inherent purpose and meaning in the universe.